This is a poem that appears in the Codex Regius, and it involves the story of Odin's contest with a giant by the name of Riddle-Weaver. I hope you enjoy. Odin said, "Advise me now, Frigg. I want to travel and visit Riddle-Weaver. I want to have a contest about old lore with that wise giant." Frigg said, "I would advise you, Odin, father of battles, to stay here, in the homes of the gods. I don't think there's any giant who is as wise as Riddle-Weaver." Odin said, "I have traveled so much, I have tried much, and I have often tested the mighty. Now I want to know what kind of hospitality there is in Riddle-Weaver's hall." Frigg said, "Then travel safe and come back in one piece. Stay safe on your journeys, Odin. May your wits serve you well, wherever you go when you exchange words with the giant." Odin then went to test the wisdom of that wise giant. Odin came to the hall Riddle-Weaver owned, and he went straight inside. Odin said, "Hail, Riddle-Weaver! I have come to your hall for the purpose of seeing you. The first thing I want to know is if you are wise, or perhaps even all-knowing." Riddle-Weaver said, "Who is this man who stands in my hall? Who is this I'm speaking to? You won't leave my hall unless you prove yourself to be even wiser than I am." Odin said, "My name is Good Advisor, and I come to your hall thirsty from a long journey. After my long trip, I have need of hospitality and a good welcome, giant." Riddle-Weaver said, "Well then, Good Advisor, why are you still standing up? Take a seat in my hall, then we'll find out who knows more, the guest or his wise old host." Odin said, "A poor man, if he visits a rich man, ought to be silent or say only what he must. Too much talk will bring harm to the guest of a grudging host." Riddle-Weaver said, "Tell me, Good Advisor, if you want to test yourself, sitting in your seat in my hall, what is the name of the horse who pulls the sun over the humans below?" Odin said, "That horse is named Skinfoxy. He pulls the bright sun over the humans below. Everyone thinks he's the best horse who lives in Midgard. The mane of that horse always shines." Riddle-Weaver said, "Tell me, Good Advisor, if you want to test yourself, sitting in your seat in my hall, what is the name of the horse who pulls the moon east to west at night over the mighty gods?" Odin said, "That horse is named Hrimfaxi, who pulls the moon east to west every night over the mighty gods. The slobber from his mouth falls to the ground every morning, and that's the reason for the dew." Riddle-Weaver said, "Tell me, Good Advisor, if you want to test yourself, sitting in your seat in my hall, what is the name of the river that separates the lands of the gods from the giants?" Odin said, "That river is named Ifing, which separates the lands of the gods from those of the giants. That river will run free forever. It will never freeze over." Riddle-Weaver said, "Tell me, Good Advisor, if you want to test yourself, sitting in your seat in my hall, what is the name of the valley where Surt will lead the final battle against the gods?" Odin said, "That valley is named Vigrid, where Surt will lead the final battle against the gods. It is 100 miles long on each side. That's why this valley is chosen." Riddle-Weaver said, "You are wise indeed, guest. Come, sit at my bench. Let's talk together here. Let's wager our heads on which of us two is wiser here in my hall, guest." Odin said, "Tell me this first, if your wits serve you well. If you know it, Riddle-Weaver, how did the earth come to be, or heaven? Which one was the first giant?" Riddle-Weaver said, "The earth was made from Mimir's flesh. The rocks were made from his bones. The sky was made from the skull of that ice-cold giant. The sea was made from his blood." Odin said, "Tell me this second, if your wits serve you well. If you know it, Riddle-Weaver, how did the moon come to be, the one that floats over the earth? Or what about the sun, giant?" Riddle-Weaver said, "Mundilfari is the name of the father of the moon. He was also the sun's father. They will float across the sky every day to help the humans tell the time and season." Odin said, "Tell me this third, if you want to be called wise, if you know it, Riddle-Weaver. How did the day come to be, or the night which passes above, with its waxing and waning moon?" Riddle-Weaver said, "Delling is the name of the father of the day, and the night is Norvi's daughter. The waxing and waning of the moon was designed by the gods to help tell the time and season." Odin said, "Tell me this fourth, if you want to be called wise. If you know it, Riddle-Weaver, How did the winter come to be, or the warm summer? When did they first come about? Riddle-Weaver said, Vindsval is the name of the father of winter, and Svartsuths is the father of summer. Odin said, Tell me this fifth, if you want to be called wise, if you know it, Riddle-Weaver. Who was the oldest being, whether god or giant, who appeared in the oldest times? Riddle-Weaver said, Untold years ago, before the earth was made, Bergelmir was born. His father was Thruthgomir, and Thruthgomir's father was Argelmir. Odin said, Tell me this sixth, if you want to be called wise, if you know it, Riddle-Weaver. How did Argelmir come to be? What was the origin of that first giant? Riddle-Weaver said, Drops of poison fell from Elivogr. They gelled and formed the giant. All the families of us giants have our origins there. That's why we're bad, through and through. Odin said, Tell me this seventh, if you want to be called wise, if you know it, Riddle-Weaver. How did that giant, Ymir, have children, if he had no woman to share his bed? Riddle-Weaver said, They say two giants, a man and a woman, grew under his armpits. One foot had a child with the other foot, and their son had 6 heads. Odin said, Tell me this eighth, if you want to be called wise, if you know it, Riddle-Weaver. What is your first memory, the earliest thing you remember? I suspect you're all-knowing, giant. Riddle-Weaver said, My very first memory is of Bergelmir, untold years before the earth was formed. I remember the wise giant laid out in his coffin. Tell me this ninth, if you want to be called wise, if you know it, Riddle-Weaver. How did the wind come to be, the wind that blows over the sea? It's something that is seldom seen. Riddle-Weaver said, There is a giant eagle named Hrelsvig, who sits at the sky's end. They say that it's from his wings the wind is blown. Odin said, Tell me this 10th. You must know the fate of all the gods, wise Riddle-Weaver. How did Njorth come to be among the Aesir? He has hundreds of temples and altars, but he was not born among the Aesir. Riddle-Weaver said, Wise Vanir created him in Vanaheim and gave him as a hostage to the Aesir. At Ragnarok he will go back home to the wise Vanir. Odin said, Tell me this 11th. Where is the hall where men fight each other every day? Riddle-Weaver said, All the Einherjar in Odin's hall fight each other every day. They kill each other, but then ride back from battle and sit in the evening as friends. Odin said, Tell me this 12th. You must know the fate of all the gods, wise Riddle-Weaver. Tell me the truth about the secrets of the giants and the gods, you wise giant. Riddle-Weaver said, I can tell you the truth about the secrets of the giants and all the gods, for I have visited them all at home. I've been to 9 realms beneath hell, to realms where the dead travel after hell. Odin said, I have traveled so much, I have tried much, and I have often tested the mighty. Will any humans remain alive after Fimbulvetur has passed over Midgard? Riddle-Weaver said, Life and pulsing with life will survive. They will hide in Hodmimir's forest. They will eat the morning dew and renew the human race. Odin said, I have traveled so much, I have tried much, and I have often tested the mighty. How will there still be a sun when the wolf has eaten the one that now flies in heaven? Riddle-Weaver said, The sun will have a daughter before Fenrir eats her, and that young sun will travel on her mother's path when the gods have all died. Odin said, I have traveled so much, I have tried much, and I have often tested the mighty. Who are those young women who fly above the sea, who travel in the air with their craft? Riddle-Weaver said, There are 3 rivers that fall over those young women of Mogthursir. Their only happiness is in Midgard, though they were born among giants. Odin said, I have traveled so much, I have tried much, and I have often tested the mighty. Which gods will inherit Asgard when the fires of Ragnarok go out? Riddle-Weaver said, Vithar and Vali will inhabit Asgard when the fires of Ragnarok go out. Mothi and Magni will inherit Mjolnir after Thor is killed. Odin said, I have traveled so much, I have tried much, and I have often tested the mighty. How will Odin lose his life at Ragnarok? Riddle-Weaver said, A wolf will swallow Odin, but Vithar will avenge him. He'll cut open the wolf's cold jaws, kill the killer of his father. Odin said, I have traveled so much, I have tried much, and I have often tested the mighty. What did Odin whisper in Baldur's ear before he placed him on the pyre? Riddle-Weaver said, No one knows what you said in those ancient days in your son's ear. I have spoken my aged wisdom. I have told you of Ragnarok. I have spoken with a doomed mouth. Now I know that I have wagered my head against Odin's in wisdom, but you, Odin, are forever the wisest of all. That's the end of my reading of the Vafthruthnismal. Sorry, my Old Norse pronunciation is not quite as good as it could be. But this is an interesting poem, and it's one of my favorites in the sagas. And it shows a discussion between two very wise and powerful beings. And I'm going to kind of leave it up in the air, but I want you to sit back and maybe re-listen to this and kind of think about the theme of this poem and how it can be applied to our lives today and how we debate and discuss between one another. Anyway, thanks for listening.